Jake in with Mon Performance. Just want to thank everybody who's been supporting the channel. Last I checked, we're 1 subscriber shy of 600, so really appreciate that. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do, and let's help get this channel up to 1,000 subscribers. So anyway, I did a video on Mk7 clutches the other day, and I feel like shouldn't leave the DSG guys out. So here's the DSG 101 breakdown of how, what, and why, and basically how to keep yourself out of trouble with those. So the DSG, the direct shift gearbox, it's a pretty cool transmission. Shifts in 8 milliseconds, so they claim. And the way it's able to achieve that performance is there's 2 clutch packs, one for the even gears, one for the odd gears. So there's no actual gear change overlap. The car is actually able to directly fire between one gear set to the next, which is why you have those DSG farts. It's a slight interruption on the ECU side to allow that DSG to basically power shift itself into oblivion. So cool technology, yes. Fun, yeah. For me, it's like a jet ski. It's fun for 20 minutes and then I'm over it. But for those of you that prefer it, I don't blame you. It is a really cool transmission and arguably superior, but we'll leave that argument for the comments. One thing that the DSG definitely has over the manual transmission is cost. If you break one, it is an extremely expensive endeavor. So here's a few tips on how to avoid that and how to take care of your DSG properly and also get the best user experience you can. So first off, maintenance. Before you should ever consider any mods, maintenance. The DSG transmission, they call for a 40,000 mile drain interval. Now, do you go the full 10,000 on your oil change? Some do, some don't. Me personally, I go 7,500. To me, it's just cheap insurance, and oil analysis isn't exactly cheap. Oil isn't that expensive, so just doing it more often is good peace of mind for a car that you're running hard and making extra power on, especially. So at the very minimum, keep fresh fluid and filter in that DSG transmission. Do your changes at 40,000. If you bought the car at 39.8, just assume it hasn't been done. If you bought it at 60,000, assume it hasn't been done. If you don't have documented proof that that DSG has been serviced, service it. First thing, don't go buying mods, service that transmission. 5,000 to 12,000 is what you're looking at if you break one and don't have the means to replace it yourself. So pretty critical, actually probably the most critical maintenance on your car if you do have a DSG or if you're considering one. Now, if I personally own one, I'd probably do the drain interval at more like 30 or 35,000. Case in point, the manual transmission on my car, supposedly it's a lifetime fluid, but if you read between the lines there, lifetime is 60,000 miles according to Volkswagen. I changed my fluid at 49,000 and it was nasty. So been doing it more often. I did it a second time at 94,000-ish maybe, and the Motul Gear 300 that came out was actually in really good condition. So Volkswagen runs the fluids that they do for a reason. I'm not saying not to run Volkswagen spec fluid, but that fluid was intended for 220 horsepower or whatever your car came with stock, not 360, not 400 foot-pounds of torque. So fluids and filters are cheap. If you want to do a DIY, there's tons of videos out there on that. I'm not going to touch on that. I've actually never done one because I don't own one. And I try to stay away from the maintenance side of things myself personally. For customers, I get enough of that at my aviation job. All right, so not to ramble or get stuck on that point. You've got to beat it into your head. Maintenance. Now, what does a DSG tune and who needs one? Well, if your car is stock, then some people are fine with the stock DSG tune. If your car is stock, you're probably warranty conscious. But if you've already gone down the rabbit hole of modding or plan to, then DSG transmission isn't going to be covered by the warranty anyway. You know, generally when you tune the car, your warranty is null and void, at least as far as the performance side of things goes. And yeah, so if you're going to tune the ECU and add power there, the DSG should also be tuned to match that. So what does a DSG tune mean? Clamping force. There's hydromechanical actuators that actually do that lightning fast gear change. Those can actually be tuned to grip tighter, just like in the clutch video I explained. The pressure plate is what's applying the force to the disc to actually hold it to the flywheel. The DSG is actually just two manual transmissions running basically in parallel, and the same rules apply. While they do make replacement DSG friction discs, just from trial and error, the high horsepower guys have basically rolled out that the OEM discs are as good as it's going to get for the car, at least at the time of making this video in early 2021. Maybe somebody will come out with something spectacular in the future, but so far stock is where it's at. So that's good news. You don't need to tear the transmission apart to do modifications to it. So basically, choosing the DSG tune that's right for you comes down to being honest with yourself about driving style and what that tuner actually entails for their DSG tune. In addition to additional clamping force, there's also a lot of differences with changing the torque limiter settings. That would essentially save the transmission if you overstep those boundaries. Shift points in both drive and sport mode. A lot of complaints on the factory DSG tune is that it kind of races up to 6th gear for fuel economy, where as an enthusiast you might not necessarily want that. And of course, better feedback in the sport mode would also be a big asset of a tune. So when you click up or down, you want it to go. On the flip side of that, they are removing a lot of the safeties when they do a DSG tune. So if you ask it to downshift to 2nd from 4th, it's probably going to do it. So just be aware of who's going to be driving the car and how it's going to be used. If this is your daily and you're letting your 16-year-old kid drive it on the weekends, might want to be careful there. If somebody, you know, a buddy, your significant other, your kid decides to downshift a couple too many gears, you could be looking at some serious problems. So a lot of things to consider. As I've said in other videos, brand loyalty really gets you nowhere. Some places will say that, yeah, only our DSG tune will match our ECU tune. You'll have to shop around to verify that. And some tuners will actually give you kind of like a trial period, 30 days. If you don't like it, they'll take it back off, clean slate. So that's something to ask, you know, Unitronic, APR. The big name companies, I don't believe the pro tuners that tune via Cobb are doing that kind of offer, but again, they've got a lot more flexibility, just like the ECU side of things. On the TCU side, if you've got a special request, if you've got a huge turbo build going in where you're gonna build the valve train and rev the car to 8,500, then those would be the guys to accommodate that, where APR, Revo, Unitronic, the kind of just off-the-shelf tunes aren't going to have that flexibility. So hopefully I didn't ramble too much. Maintenance. And yeah, here you go, DSG guys. Have a good one, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't.